Imagine yourself waking not to the sound of an alarm, but to the faint rustling of woven reed mats and the distant call of a donkey from somewhere beyond the courtyard walls. You are young, perhaps 12, perhaps a bit older. Your hands already bear the stains of ink or the calluses of brick. You are one of many, just another thread woven into the fabric of Babylonian life. The air is already warm, thick with the scent of baked clay and smoke from the communal hearths. There is no breakfast as you might expect, just a scrap of flatbread and a mouthful of sour beer, barely fermented. Your stomach churns slightly, but this is normal. You are used to hunger, to bitterness, to the slow ache of effort. Outside, the alleys are narrow and uneven, worn smooth by generations of feet. Clay walls rise up on either side, cracked and sun-bleached. The city is alive with sound. Merchants haggling, goats bleating, the distant chant of priests echoing through the air like wind through reeds. If you are apprenticed to a scribe, your day begins in the cool shadows of a temple courtyard. You kneel before a low table, stylus in hand, tracing symbols into damp clay. Cuneiform, wedge-shaped, patient, precise. Each tablet takes hours to form, and one slip can ruin it. You do not question why you must learn to write the same legal code 100 times. You are told, this is the law, the gods see, the king demands. Or perhaps you are a laborer, assigned to the Ziggurats' ever-growing base. Your body bends, again and again, lifting baskets of earth or water, passing bricks formed from mud and straw. Your skin cracks beneath the sun, and your sweat stains the same linen tunic you've worn all season. There are no gloves, no shoes, just rhythm and orders, and the slow passing of the sun overhead. The priests loom in the background, distant but always watching. You don't speak to them, only bow slightly when they pass. They are the voice of the gods. You are simply you. Midday brings no rest. The heat presses like a hand upon your back. Water is drawn from communal wells, tepid and slightly sour. You avoid eye contact, especially with merchants. To look too long might mean accusations. And accusations here can quickly become law. Because in Babylon, law lives in clay. Disputes over grain or boundaries or broken promises are recorded permanently. If your neighbor blames you for stealing his sheep, even falsely, it becomes a matter of trial. Witnesses speak, priests preside. The outcome may be as simple as final as drowning in the river. You don't speak out of turn. You don't speak unless spoken to. As the sun lowers and shadows stretch, you return to your home, if you have one, a small space shared with many. The walls are made of sun-dried mud brick. The roof, a thatch of palm leaves and reeds, always leaking when it rains. There is little to own, a bowl, a mat, a bone comb. Dinner, if it comes, is barley, porridge, or lentils, shared communally, no plates, no spoons. You eat with your hands. You eat what the earth gives, and sometimes it gives very little. At night, the stars shine bright. Babylon has no lights, no noise beyond the occasional cry of a jackal or the low murmur of prayers. You lie still, listening to the breaths of your kin around you. Tomorrow will be the same, and the day after. The gods demand order. The king demands obedience, must endure. You may wonder now, from the comfort of your soft bed, whether you could last even a single day like this. With the weight of the sun, the press of rules, the endless dust, you might find yourself longing for silence, for solitude. But in Babylon, solitude is rare. You are always seen, always taxed, always measured. Still, you would try, because that is what they did. Every day. For generations. Let us leave the narrow alleys behind for now. Step out of the crowded workers' quarter and look instead toward the palace district, where decisions are etched not in sand, but in stone. The world of ancient Babylon was not born peaceful. City-states warred like siblings, quarreling in the dark Larsa, Isin, Uruk, and more. Power shifted like silt in the Euphrates. But among this swirling dust, one name emerged like a chisel in wet clay. Hammurabi. Imagine yourself now in his court. The air cooler, scented faintly with cedar wood brought from distant mountains. Columns of baked brick rise like sentinels around you. Scribes whisper behind tablets, and guards in linen tunics stand at quiet attention. Hammurabi does not raise his voice, does not need to. He rules with precision and patience. Born around 1810 BCE, Hammurabi was not born into a grand empire. He inherited Babylon while it was still a middling city-state, promising, yes, but hardly the shining jewel it would become. The land was fractured. Neighboring kings eyed Babylon with cautious envy. And the gods. Well, the gods favored no one for long. But Hammurabi understood something many did not. He knew that victory did not always lie in battle. Sometimes it lay in timing, in diplomacy, in watching, waiting, and then striking cleanly. In his early reign, Hammurabi focused not on war but on water, the lifeblood of Mesopotamia. He repaired canals, regulated irrigation. He spoke in the language of abundance, not blood. Farmers who once cursed flooding began to bless his name. Merchants found his roads safer. Priests noticed his offerings were punctual and generous. And then he turned his gaze outward. One by one, the surrounding cities fell. Not all by sword, many by treaty, then betrayal. By alliances made and broken at just the right moment. He played rivals against each other like a weaver with threads. By the time Hammurabi reached his zenith, Babylon was no longer a city among equals. It was the city. It's the capital of an empire stretching from the mountains of Elam to the marshes of Sumer. But conquest, Hammurabi believed, meant little without order. And so, he did something few before had dared. He wrote it all down. The Code of Hammurabi. Not the first legal code, perhaps. The most enduring. A stone pillar, over 7 feet tall, carved top to bottom in neat cuneiform. At the top, Hammurabi stands in relief before Shamash, the sun god receiving divine authority. Beneath them, 282 laws decrees on trade, theft, marriage, debt, and discipline. And justice. But not justice as we might imagine it. This was a world of measured retribution. If a man destroys the eye of another, his own eye shall be destroyed. If a builder constructs a house that collapses and kills the owner, the builder shall be put to death. It was not mercy he offered, but balance. To us, such rules may seem harsh. But to those who lived under his reign, it was a form of predictability. In a world of floods, disease, and unstable rulers, Hammurabi's stone laws stood like a promise and a warning. For nearly 4 decades he ruled. His empire brought peace of a kind, peace built on accountability, fear, and faith. But as always in history, the tide turned slowly, and then all at once. After Hammurabi's death, his successors struggled. Without a shrewd mind, alliances crumbled. Enemies grew bold, cities rebelled. Within a century, Babylon's first empire faded, yet Hammurabi's shadow lingered. His laws were copied, studied, and preserved. Not just in Mesopotamia, but in future ages. The idea that rulers must declare the rules, not hide them. That laws could be known by all, not whispered among priests. You may close your eyes and picture that stone stele now, tall and dark, waiting in the Louvre Museum. Thousands of years later, its symbols still whisper stories of barley, betrayal, and balance, of a king who ruled not just by sword or scribes, but by the belief that order was divine. Now, let us drift higher, not just in time, but in form and space, rising from the flat earth of Babylon's markets and mud homes, upward toward the ancient staircases of heaven. You see it before you, don't you? A towering mass of sun-dried brick, built in stacked, receding levels. Like a giant's wedding cake, each tier smaller than the one below. This is a ziggurat, and once it dominated the skyline of the Mesopotamian world. Though time has worn them to gentle mounds, centuries ago these structures were the focus of life and faith. They were more than buildings. They were bridges between earth and sky, between man and God. The most famous of them all stood in Babylon itself. Etemenanki, they called it, which means the foundation of heaven and earth. Let us walk softly through its imagined form. There are no surviving images, only fragments and speculation. But the base, some say, was nearly 300 feet square, its height. Perhaps just as great, though no one is certain. Each level built upon the last, constructed from tens of thousands of mud bricks, baked in the sun, shaped by hand. Bitumen natural tar was used to seal them, its sharp scent filling the air. Ramps spiraled upward or stretched out in great inclines, allowing priests and chosen few to ascend toward the upper sanctum. This was no place for the commoner. The top of the ziggurat, often crowned with a small temple or shrine, was the home of the gods. And the gods rarely received visitors. In Babylon, that god was Marduk, patron of the city, warrior, healer, judge. Once a year, during the Great New Year's festival, his statue was carried in solemn procession to the top of the ziggurat. There, he was believed to commune with the heavens, renew the world's order, and whisper fate to the king. Imagine now the silence at that height. Above the dust and cries of the streets, above the bleating goats and chanting scribes, only wind and the weight of belief. Yet these towers were not merely religious, they were cosmic diagrams. The ziggurat was a physical representation of the universe, the base earth, the top heaven, the journey upward a spiritual path. Each brick was inscribed, each corner aligned to the cardinal directions. Mathematics, astronomy, and architecture merged in quiet brilliance. But time, as always, had other plans. The ziggurats, so central to Mesopotamian life, were abandoned, buried, or broken down. Their bricks reused, their names forgotten. For thousands of years, they slumbered beneath layers of earth and myth. In the 19th century, European explorers arrived. Driven by curiosity and imperial ambition, they mistook many ziggurat ruins for natural hills, till excavation revealed their shape, their purpose, and their incredible scale. At places like Yor, Nippur, and Borsippa, crumbled staircases emerged. Ceremonial plaques, temple platforms, and votive offerings, all slowly drawn from the dirt-like memories from a dream. Even today, the mystery remains. How did these people, without iron tools, without pulleys or cranes, build such structures with such alignment and intention? And what exactly happened inside those temples at the top? Were gods truly housed there? Did rituals echo through those chambers, heard only by wind and starlight? We may never know. But perhaps that's the beauty of it. As you lie here now, you might imagine yourself at the base of such a structure. Looking up, your eyes squinting against the light, each level above fading into the blue. A place too high for your feet, too sacred for your breath. Stairway not meant to be climbed, but dreamed of. Let us descend now, slowly, gently, back to earth. Back to the city of Babylon, but not to its crowded quarters, not to the scribe's school or the ziggurat's towering silence. This time, we turn toward the homes behind high brick walls, homes shaded by fig trees and lined with tiled courtyards. The domain of the elite, the well-fed, the well-dressed, the well-connected. Here you are not hauling bricks or tracing cuneiform tablets. You are an honored guest. And the evening air is beginning to cool. The sun has dipped low behind the walls, casting long shadows across mosaics of baked clay. A servant leads you through a stone threshold quietly, without a word. Incense burns in the corner of the courtyard, mingling with the scent of roasting lamb and sweet dates. Babylon's elite did not dine as others did. To eat was not merely to nourish. It was to perform, to show status, to honor the gods, to bind contracts, and entertain dignitaries. We're seated on a cushion beside a low table carved from cedar. Others are already there, men with trimmed beards, golden rings, and sharp eyes. Their robes are fine linen, dyed with rare indigo or deep pomegranate red. Some wear seals around their neck, small cylinder stones, etched with personal symbols used to sign documents pressed into clay. A musician plucks softly at a lyre in the corner, not to stir the room, but to soothe it. The first course arrives, flatbreads, still warm. Bowls of lentils, slow-cooked with herbs. Jars of beer, thick and earthy, passed carefully from hand to hand. Later, there will be lamb, figs, honey-soaked cakes, perhaps even something rare, a melon from the north, or imported wine from the west. But more than the food, it is the conversation that nourishes. Talk flows like the Tigris, of trade routes and temple politics, of omens red in liver and sky, of the king's latest decree, and the price of copper in distant Elam. Every gesture matters. Every pause, calculated. To speak too freely is to risk offense. To speak too little is to be forgotten. The priests are here, two silent observers in the corner, their presence a reminder that even among wealth, the gods are watching. At some point, an augur reads an omen aloud, perhaps from the flight of birds or from the rising smoke of the incense brazier. A favorable sign, he says. Everyone nods slowly. No one disagrees. Later, poetry is recited. Not loud, not theatrical, just enough to mark the evening. A tale of Inanna and Dumizi, or a lament for the destruction of a long-forgotten city. Melancholy, but beautiful. The elite of Babylon did not chase joy, but balance. Even in leisure, they were wary of excess. Too much laughter might attract envy. Too much boasting might draw divine retribution. And so, the evening winds down not with revelry, but with ritual. Hands are washed with scented water. Offerings are left in the small family shrine near the rear of the home. A final glance to the sky where Ishtar and Nergal move among the stars. Guests leave slowly, voices hushed, each carrying the memory of a night carefully measured. And perhaps, carefully remembered, as the courtyard empties, the household begins to sleep. Not all at once, some linger near oil lamps, muttering prayers. Others drift toward rest, lulled by the quiet hum of the city at night. And just beyond the walls, Babylon breathes. So now, you've walked the length of ancient Babylon, from its lowest corners to its highest towers. From the ink-stained hands of a child scribe to the silent gaze of a king who etched law into stone. You've stood in the shadows of Ziggurats and sat in the perfumed hush of an elite banquet hall. It was not always beautiful, it was not always kind, but it was always full. Of structure, of meaning, of effort. A city of mud and mathematics, of fire and faith, of order that shaped the world, still lingers in the dust beneath our feet. Now, as you rest, perhaps the weight of that distant world feels lighter than before. Perhaps it reminds you that history isn't always grand battles or golden crowns. Sometimes it's just the steady rhythm of life, repetitive, quiet, unchanging, much like sleep. So close your eyes, let Babylon fade behind the horizon of your thoughts, and return to your own world, soft, still, and at peace.